All right, let's get into it. You've heard the term, right? AI slop. That just endless, churning sea of kind of low-quality stuff that feels like it's burying the internet. It's a huge complaint, but what if it's missing the point entirely? Today, we're diving into a really powerful counter-narrative from someone who sees AI not as the problem, but maybe as the most important invention of our time. Let's see how. And you've probably felt this, right? You're scrolling, and everything just starts to look the same. Same recycled memes, same predictable videos. It just leads to this exhaustion, this feeling that we're all just swimming in a giant ocean of digital noise. But is the technology really the problem here? Well, here's a pretty provocative counterargument. The source of this whole idea, he puts it bluntly. If you're looking for quality on platforms that are basically the kebab shops of the internet, well, you're looking in the wrong place. The problem isn't the AI, it's where we're choosing to put our attention. So yeah, this is what everyone's talking about when they say the age of AI slop, this explosion of generic algorithm-fed content. But from the perspective we're exploring, complaining about it is kind of like complaining about a bad movie you chose to watch. The power is in your hands to just change the channel. And that gets us to the real heart of the matter. The problem isn't the tool, it's how we're using it. We're about to follow the journey of one user who didn't just start using AI, he totally flipped the script on his relationship with it. He turned what many see as a content machine into an incredibly powerful tool for expanding his own intellect. And this new way of thinking, well, it led him to this idea he calls the Great Divide. It's a concept that basically splits all of us into two very different camps. And it really explains why some people see only slop, while others are having this, personal renaissance. Okay, so on one side, you've got the passive consumer. This is the endless scrolling, the algorithm just feeding you stuff, a life of digital sameness. But on the other side, you've got the active creator. This is all about asking very precise questions, creating things with intent, and building something that is specific to you. It's the difference between wielding the tool and just getting hit with whatever it spits out. And here's the thing you've got to understand. The Great Divide isn't about how good you are with computers. It's about your mindset. Are you a passenger just along for the algorithm's ride? Or are you the architect of your own digital world? So let's see what being an architect actually looks like. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually play out in the real world? For this user, becoming an active creator started with a massive, and I mean massive, power-up in his professional life. Just look at this number, 93%. That's how much time he saves on really complex system administration tasks. That's not just a little improvement. That fundamentally changes your entire workday. But how? Well, he didn't just go ask a chatbot a random question. No, he integrated tools like Gemini CLI directly into his command line. Suddenly, tasks that used to take a full day of banging his head against the wall, digging through old forums, that was all reduced to just 30 minutes. Basically, the AI became this interactive partner that just eliminated all the friction between having a problem and getting to the solution. But this whole professional power-up, that was just the start. The really mind-blowing shift happened when he took that same active mindset and applied it to his personal and intellectual life. He literally turned AI into a partner for his own mind. So get this, instead of just, passively reading a novel, he would feed the entire book into a tool like NotebookLM, and then he could have a conversation with it, asking it deep philosophical questions about the characters, the themes, turning a monologue into a dialogue. It's the difference between just reading a book and having a private seminar with it. Then, he started using tools like 11 Labs to create his own high-quality audiobooks for novels that didn't have one. He didn't just sit around and wait for a publisher to maybe produce it. He just built it himself. I mean, talk about creative freedom, right? And all this led to what is maybe the most powerful application of all. He began using AI as something he calls a Socratic mirror, a tool to reflect, to structure, and to deepen his own thinking in a way that just was never possible before. So how does this whole Socratic mirror thing actually work? Well, the workflow is genius. First, he just explores an idea for hours, talking it out in a text conversation with an AI. Then, he takes that whole raw chat and dumps it into a tool, and then tells the AI to analyze his thoughts, to create diagrams, summaries, you name it, from his own words. He turns his internal monologue into structured data. And what this all adds up to is something he calls an exoskeleton for the mind. See, the AI isn't doing the thinking for him. It's providing the infrastructure for his thinking. It removes that friction we all have when we're trying to articulate really complex ideas, and it lets him see his own thoughts way more clearly. And the result of all of this? It's a complete and total redefinition of what entertainment even is. Because when you can explore your own mind at this level, suddenly just sitting back and consuming stuff, it starts to feel a little meh. This quote just says it all. As a really curious person, he was often kind of let down by mass media, but now he can create content that is perfectly tailored to his own curiosity. The media he makes for himself is finally Abe and Bertic. It's an equal partner to his intellect. And the contrast becomes just huge. He talks about watching a blockbuster like Avatar and just feeling bored, while all his friends were loving it. And look, this wasn't him being a snob. His brain was just getting used to a much deeper, more interactive kind of engagement. Standard Hollywood plots started to feel like a huge step backward. And what we're looking at here might just be the next big step in media. You know, we went from books to TV to the internet scroll. This is the next stage. The fusion of creation and consumption, where you get to be both the author and the audience of your own intellectual journey. And that brings us right back to where we started. The whole debate over AI slop is really a debate about digital fast food. But for the active creator, that whole conversation is just irrelevant. They're not waiting in line anymore. They're in the kitchen, building their own gourmet intellectual meals. So all of this forces us to ask a really fundamental question about what's next. We have always defined media as something we consume from the outside. But what if that's about to completely change? The user we've been following sees a pretty clear path forward, from making his own audiobooks to generating entire films from his own thoughts. And the ultimate goal? Something like the holodeck from Star Trek, an interactive world generated on the fly. A total sci-fi dream, right? But for the first time, it actually feels possible. And that leaves us with this final thought. The Great Divide is getting wider. On one side, there's a future of passive consumption, of endless slop. But on the other, there's the chance to become the architect of your own reality. So the question isn't really what AI is going to do to us anymore. The real question is, which side of that divide are you going to be on?